Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of what I'm calling Anime After Hours, a series on the second channel where I talk about animes in a less formal way, just sort of give my thoughts on animes that I've been watching recently that I don't think are worth a main channel video. The video today is going to be based on an anime called Toradora, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. If you're not, however, Toradora is a romance anime, which is 25 episodes long, if I remember correctly. It centers around these two main characters, Taiga and Ryuuji. Pretty cool main characters, I will say. Both very misunderstood people. And basically, the entire story of Toradora is that with any romance anime that has two main characters, these two are going to end up together. It's more just how do they get that. The way that the story starts off is that Ryuji actually has a crush on Taiga's best friend Minori, and Taiga has a crush on Ryuji's best friend Yuusaku. Now, they sort of play wingman for each other for a large majority of the series. There is another side character called Amy that gets introduced as well, who's Yusaku's childhood friend, who has a thing for Ryuji, kind of, but also doesn't really like him and seems very offhandish towards him towards the end of the series, because I think she's aware that he subconsciously likes Taiga and is sort of hurting everybody in this situation by still pursuing Minori when his feelings aren't 100% in the air, like down to a T, I would say. But we'll get to that. So, what do I like about Toradora? I think the characters are the main thing that makes this show actually enjoyable and watchable. To begin with, I think it's really nice that both characters are misunderstood, because you get a sort of gradual development between the both of them. I mean, Taiga is perceived to be this feisty fighter, which she is, to be honest. Throughout the series she does fight, but I think with you being aggressive, there are some stereotypes that come across that you're also stupid or whatever. And she consistently performs very well in tests throughout the show. She becomes very well liked by her classmates after a certain point. They're very offhandish to begin with. She becomes very well liked after actually participating in things such as a school festival, which you get in every romance anime, as I'm sure you're aware. Ryuji, on the other hand, he is perceived to be this Yakuza style guy because his dad was a Yakuza guy, and Ryuji has a very unsettling stare and face. Basically, he has the aura of a Yakuza member, so people are scared of him. And in actual fact, Ryuji is probably the most feminine man in the show by a country mile. He likes to cook, he likes to clean, he sews, he manages money, basically looks after his house. All jobs that in a Japanese society are generally associated with a female. And he takes this role on mainly because his mum is working. She works as a hostess, I believe. I do not know the ins and outs of Japanese host culture, so I could not tell you what exactly she does, but yeah, that sort of thing. Incredibly hot, though, I will say that. And I think the fact that these main characters have this development where throughout the show their initial perception that people have of them being these scary fighters changes, and they become very well liked and very social, and it's nice, especially when Ryuji, you can sort of tell that apart from Yusaku and Minori, who he's been friendly with before the show starts, is very socially outcasted, primarily because of his aggressiveness, we'll say. More about the characters, the side characters. Minori, she's pretty cool. I think she is a bit of a comic relief character at times. She's constantly working, so the group finds themselves in situations where they'll see her because she's working. To be honest, I really did like the relationship that her and Ryuji had throughout the show. It seemed a bit stupid to me that the story went off the rails towards the end, and I really could have seen them together, to be honest. I also do like the fact that she's not as much of a pushover towards the end of a series. I feel like she very much just goes along with everything for a lot of time, and then there's a sort of bust up between her and Amy that's quite refreshing to see. Yuusaku, probably my favorite character in the show, to be honest. He basically starts out as this guy that obviously we're expecting Taiga to get with. He then sort of rejects her, sort of keeps it going. He then gets rejected by a girl who he was in love with. He was the he was the vice president of the student council, and he fell in love with the president of the student council. He gets rejected by her. He then turns into a delinquent in order to stop becoming the president of the school council, and then changes his ways. He then becomes the patron saint of broken hearts, I believe, and starts giving people dating advice. And to be honest, I would have liked to have seen him and Taiga end up together, because I feel like throughout, like I say, a large majority of the show, that's what I hinted at. I don't know whether I've got like zero media literacy and I just didn't pick up on certain things that I probably should have. Who knows? There has been as well some relationship between Amy and Ryuuji, which would have been my preferred ship, to be honest. I don't really like to ship characters in shows, but I felt like this one was the one that made most sense in my eyes. She is this model that's obviously very alienated from the actual world, and he just doesn't give a fuck, to be honest. Like, she'll talk to him and he'll just be like, get over yourself. And it's nice, the fact that he sort of brings her down to earth. But like I say, there's a lot of like love and relationships and shit going on in the show. It's like a love pentagon almost. I don't know the love shapes very well. I don't know how they work. I don't know if it's a love pentagon or technically 3 love triangles or what. But all you really need to know is, in the end, Taiga and Ryuuji end up together, and it's a load of bollocks. The way that it happens, and the fact that it goes from like them just getting together to them being married and all this shit, and it's basically like 3 episodes, felt very rushed to me. I do feel like the anime could have probably done with another season, or maybe just a few more episodes, make it a 30 ep. I know it's very uncommon in anime, but it could have probably done with 5 more episodes to actually flesh out what the fuck was going on. Because I felt like I was just like, oh yeah, this is really cool, I guess, Oh, not the biggest fan of this shit, but I can get behind it, I guess. And then it was like, it's gone, it's done. The show's ended. And I was like, probably should have, had a bit more development between the two of them, but I don't know. I guess you could say the fact that they grow closer as friends throughout the show is that sort of development, but personally I don't see that. I feel like they were always friends from episode 2 or 3 or whatever, and I couldn't really see them being together. I thought they worked better as like a dynamic duo of friends, but that's just me. The soundtrack I thought was quite good for the show. I think it blended well. I don't think there was any points where it felt out of place. It definitely amplifies at certain moments in the show. Like, there's a moment when Minori is like very offhandish towards Ryuuji because she's realised that she has feelings for him and doesn't want to hurt Taiga, because I think she realised she also had feelings for him. And the somber music is quite good. There's also moments where the show tries to be scary, which the music fits very well, and I do think the soundtrack is quite good. Like I've mentioned, the story for me, I really enjoyed it for like the first 18 to 19 episodes, then it fell off a cliff for me. If it had been purely like the first 19 episodes, I think it'd have probably ended up being like a 9 or an 8 out of 10. I think the last 6 episodes really just do bring it down to a 7 for me, unfortunately. The art style though is quite nice. It flows like quite fluidly. It's nothing to write home about, it's no Demon Slayer animation or anything like that, but I do think that for a romance anime, especially at its time, it was quite decent. And to be honest, I do think that Toradora is something that I would recommend to people to watch. My only thing would be to say is that you just beware for like the last 6 or 7 episodes. I feel like you'll watch it and you'll be into it and you'll be like, wow, this is a really good anime. And then you'll be like, oh, why the fuck did they do that? But then again, that could just be me being a hater. That could be me just hating on the fact that I didn't like the ship. And maybe I'm just, subvertedly just like pushing my opinion on people. But I personally just didn't like the ship. And I think that affected the story, in my opinion. However, if you overall, I'd probably give it a 7. I would recommend that you do watch it for yourselves. Maybe your media literacy better than mine and you pick up on it earlier and you're a fan of it. I'd give it a 7. I feel like there's a lot more that could be done. It was very classic in the romance anime genre with your beach episode and your festival scene and all that shit. So it was pretty basic on as far as romance animes go there. But I do think it was a good watch, and I can't say I was ever bored throughout the show. So I give it a 7. I'd recommend it to you. If you want to see any more of the Anime After Hours series, don't forget to leave a like. And maybe I'll drop one pretty soon. Who knows? We know what my uploading schedule's like. Peace out.